Hi folks, welcome to my Bit Retro Journal. It's the month of December, and so a bunch of YouTubers are celebrating MS-DOS machines in the month of December with hashtag DOScember. And I've been participating for the last previous 2 years, and I'm going to participate again this year. 2 years ago, I actually did a video showcasing that the QL could actually run a PC emulator called Conqueror by Digital Precision. And a lot of people were actually amazed by that because they were like, wow, I didn't realize the QL could do that. It wasn't actually an accelerated QL. It was the original QL with two exceptions. I had a disk interface card, which actually came out in 1985. And similarly, the RAM expansion also came out in 1985. So the QL itself came out January of 84. So this was within a year or so. They had disk interfaces. And the disk interface is only this big and actually fits completely inside. The RAM expansion is piggyback onto it. And the folks that made the RAM expansion, which was Miracle Systems, actually created this cover so you could protect it. And so you actually slides over. And doesn't look great, but at least protects it. They had other disk interfaces that had memory built into it, and they kind of came out, the full thing came out to about here. Again, I didn't actually have the RAM expansion back in the 90s. I just had the disk card, and so I usually kept it inside and had a single floppy to it. Nowadays I use SD card readers, so I don't usually have the floppy interface connected, but for this video I need it. And what I'm going to do differently this time than I did 2 years ago is I'm going to rerun my PC Conqueror emulator, but instead of running it one time, I'm actually going to run two instances of it. So the QL has a really powerful multitasking operating system. I've done videos on that, and I'm actually able to run two instances concurrently, and they're going to each work individually, like you would expect on a modern machine, right? Running two instances of a virtual machine. Well, the QL is able to do this. Again, designed in 83, came out in 84, considered not a very successful machine, but I think the reason we QLs love this machine is because it has this very Unix-like feel. And one of the things is it has a really good heap memory model, and is able to deal with concurrent processes without them stepping on each other. And so that's what I want to demonstrate today. I'm going to hook my disk drive up, and I'll talk about that once I have it all in view. But let me set this up, turn the computer on, and then I'll give you a bit more detail of what I'm going to do, and then I'm just going to do it. All right, so let's do that. All right, here's my setup. I've got two floppy drives. I know it looks like I have three, but this is a dual floppy where you can either use this one or this one. So I've got it configured to use, this is FOP1, this is FOP2. And just to demonstrate that, I have a QL disk. I'm going to stick it in here, and you'll see that if I go and so this is set to FOP1, you'll see it goes pretty quickly and it shows up there. And if I move this to FOP2, so I've shown this drive on my channel before, and I've also shown this drive on my channel before. So if I do FOP2, which just means I have to up this one. I know you can't see that, but you'll see this will be FOP2, and it'll say FOP2 Hermes. So I got both drives up and running, so that works. So let's go back to microdrive 3 has my Conqueror emulator on it. And on there, you'll see what's called a task file. Now, a couple of weeks ago, I did a video on Choice, which is ICE's window manager, and it's a task file. And this is actually where I got the idea. So this task file, it's actually not very big, but it's an executable that is going to get you I don't have it lined up properly. Again, I'm writing this in color to show you that I'm trying to get, there we go. And it's going to show you that it's about 3072 bytes in size, so not very big. This is pretty easy to create. Let me show you how I created that. I'm going to have to go, actually, I did this before my SD card reader was fixed, so you'll hear this is actually on one of the cartridges. And I'm not going to save it, but I'm just going to show you how I created it, just to show you how simple it was actually to create. And again, yeah, so here we have it. And so if I go and open up Choice, which is an application that works with ICE, and it's going to allow me to create these task files. And what I'm going to do is create a task file. What's nice is it allows you to give the name of the task file, but also to give memory, set aside memory for how much it should use. So install tasks. And so I'm going to do Conqueror. Give it 200K of memory space, so that's set aside for it. I'm not going to, so I could try to keep its display to set aside another 32K, but I just don't have it. So the display will not be preserved. But again, if I had more memory, I could do that. Define task. And again, this is going to be Conqueror again. So I'm just running the same, I'm creating two tasks with the same executable. Again, 200 bytes, 200K, sorry. And again, no reserving of display. And then I could do set the control to F3, and then I could save the task, and it would save it to MDV3. So you save it on the same drive that the executables exist, and then it would just run. So then let me show you how this works. So once I start it up, it's going to ask me to load each one of them, and it's going to create a separate instance of that. Now, it took me a little while to figure out how to actually get it to work, and there's a key trick that, so here's the task file, and again, it's only 3K in size, as I've already shown you, so I'm going to start it up. And the task file sort of runs by itself. It does need ICE, the ICE cartridge on there. I don't know why, other than maybe it's using some of the GUI elements of it, like the windows and stuff. Perhaps, but there's no reason that you couldn't write something without ICE to do that. But I have Task Manager, so I thought I'd use it. So now it's asking for the second instance. It's going to load both of them into memory. And again, this is FLP1, this is FLP2. And yeah, so here we have, and so I'm going to start task 1 up, and it's going to start. And here it says, if you read it, insert bootable disks. So this is floppy 1. I'm going to insert bootable disk. This has MS-DOS 3.3 because it's nice and small. And it says press 1 to boot floppy 1, 2 to boot floppy 2. Press control at the same time if you want to release the other drive. That's the important part, because if I don't release it, then I can't run the other instance. So I'm going to hit control 1, and you'll see that it's hitting the drive. And now it's booting up this instance. And takes a little while. I mean, obviously it's not a fast emulator, but that's not the point of it. What I'm trying to demonstrate is that it can do it. And it's going to give the date and the time and the date, or date and the time. I forget which order it's going to show it in. But now it has the MS-DOS cursor. You can see it right there. And that cursor is going to persist even when we are in the other instance of Conqueror. Now, Conqueror itself is only 76K in size, so that's pretty tight code for a CGA emulator. All right, so I'm just going to do what we did back in the day. We didn't care about time. And here it is. It's got, right, and if I do dir on executables, you'll see that I have it's the basic. It's like a Dell OEM, but what's on here also is GW Basic. You can see it right there. I'm going to run GW Basic. And that'll actually tell you how much memory you have left. So 200K. DOS takes up 50, but you only give about 175. It's not very much memory that has left. Once GW Basic runs, you get about under 100K left for this instance, but you still have the other instance, so you're not losing. It's not taking up. Yeah, here you go. So it says, yeah, almost 50K of memory free, and it should give me the cursor. Here it is. So now I can write a program. 10 print. No, let's do a loop. for I equals 1 to, let's say 80, 20, print. Let's do hello. And then we'll do 30 next I. Plain old vanilla basic, and we can run it. And there it runs, doing hello. All right, so now what we can do is we can actually go and hit Control F3. And that brings up the task manager. Notice that it actually stopped the program in the background. If I go back into it, it continues running. It doesn't refresh the screen. That's because I didn't set aside screen memory. But once again, I can stop it. Now if I go to Conqueror 2, you'll see that the E is still running in here. But it has the next one. Now what happens is if I hit Control, first of all I need to move the disk to my next drive. And if I hit Control F2, nothing happens because the keyboard stuff still isn't quite does this. Yeah, so the way to get around is I just have to do Control F3 again and just go back into task 2. It clears the screen, but this time it's actually going to be able to hit, and now it'll hit the disk. And see, there's my other cursor. So this is task 1, this is task 2, and it's going to, you see it's still trying to print hello, the E in hello, because it's sort of stopped. And it just sort of sits, it doesn't move on, it just sits there and keeps refreshing the E as a background task. So you do get a little bit of screen collision, but not too bad. But this is the cursor for instance number 2, and it's going to come and show, it's going to ask in a second date and time, and then we're going to do the same thing. Show you that we can run 2 things at the same time, which is pretty cool. And again, designed in 83, came out in 84, was discontinued at the end of 85, early 86. Here we go. Yeah. So now we have 2 instances of DOS running. So pretty cool, right? Not something that many computers in 84 could do with as little as a 6808 processor. So again, I'm going to do the same thing, GW basic, just to show you that both versions run. It's reading the first drive. So this is the drive that is, well, this is a second ALPS that I found. I put the first ALPS into my Amiga, and I found this ALPS. So I'm like, oh, I should use it for my QL, so I don't have to keep taking my Amiga apart. And yeah, here we go. A little bit more memory for here, 52K. So it's going to give me, so I'm going to write a program here. Then for I equals 1 to 80, 20, print, not hello, but we're going to print world, right? It's not going to interleave if that's what you think. That would be really cool. But unfortunately, the way, now it's not saying it couldn't, but the way task choice in Task Manager is it uses the QL's operating system to basically pause. And I do have another short clip, I don't know when it's going to come out, that shows you, and I've already shown that in the past too, but it shows you the power of the jobs control that the QL has. I can run that. And just like the other one, if I do Control F8, stops it. Do the same one, it continues. And now, here comes the fun part. Go back to 1, and hello continues. Let's go back to 2, and world continues. So 2 instances of the emulator running. I'm going to have world catch up to hello because it was a wee bit behind. Like I said, they don't interleave, but one is paused while the other one, Now we can start one again. And by the way, while you're doing this, you can go back to ICE. You can see that there's a little bit of screen because they're trying to show what they're doing. But generally, we can see that we have 7 jobs running, and about 20K free. And I believe the 7 jobs are this: QDOS, ICE, the task file, Conqueror, and then the 2 GW basics. Those are the 7. So it actually is the emulator seems to be putting the programs as a task in on the task queue as well, which is the only, because if I do it before I run these programs, it actually says I have 5 jobs running. So that's I didn't show you beforehand, but so yeah, that's the only way I can see the other 2 jobs are coming from, is that I'm running tasks on them. It's kind of odd, but I don't know how the Conqueror emulator works. But yeah, so I can and by the way, I can also while these jobs are paused, if I want to, so I can't run a program here. So, oops, that's 1. I'm on the wrong one. I want to do 2. And that is loading the choice cartridge again. So again, you can do work within the QL. I only have 20K free, so that's not very much memory. But one thing, once you're using a task job, you can't run another program. You can do stuff with other programs like copy and paste, but you can't, yeah. So for instance, if I wanted to run color or baton, I can select it, but it won't let me double click on it. What I can do is I can get like its size. So it's letting me do ICE interface thingies, but it won't let me, run and I could delete, I could copy to, obviously not the floppies are both being used, but I could do all sorts of interesting things that way. Yeah, so, but, so I can use my interface basically, which is the task is always there. Again, to get back into it, I have to quit my interface, and that's going to bring that back. And so I can go back to Conqueror 2. And it's going to print world. Yeah, we can still printing world. Let's go back to Conqueror 1, and it's going to finish printing hello. And let it finish hello. Now I can't actually do Control C. I've tried it. Control C is supposed to stop it, but I think Control C is also a task switching command, and so it's not going to let you do that. So what I can do here is type system. And just to show you that I can do more than just simple, and I'm going to, this is the first emulator, so I'm going to switch disks and put it here. If I go and do a dir / start.com, you'll see that, yep, so it's hitting the first disk again. What I'm going to do is run a game now. This time, this is going to use CGA graphics, right? So it's not just about doing command shell things. You can also have them run graphics. Although graphics does cause a little bit of a headache, so graphics sort of takes over the screen and doesn't relinquish it. And so I think it'll clash with the other program. But link 4. And here you'll see that it's loading it, and it's a small game that'll run within the 200K environment that it has. And I'll probably fast forward over. Yeah, so it's going to do the animation. It's a Connect 4 kind of game, and I'm only going to show you a brief part of it because I don't want this video to get too long. But just wanted to show you that the game actually, yep, still runs. And I can, yep. gives you instructions. Now there's a little bit being cut off on the bottom again because I'm in TV mode, but for the most part, most of this game is going to show. And the drawing is going to be slow, but that's okay. And so it's going to draw the Connect 4, so I'm probably going to fast forward over this. Yep, so it took a couple minutes to draw, so it wasn't too bad, but so yeah, if you do keyboard play, it's going to then draw a little ball at the top, and then you can move that ball around. Again, it gives you instructions right below, which you unfortunately can't see, but here, so I can move the ball. Playing suboptimally, then you hit the down arrow, and it's going to fall down. Again, playable. I mean, it's no faster than, say, my old ZX81, and certainly gives you a bit more game library. And again, there is a more modern version of the Conqueror emulator that was written. It's called Conqueror Gold. It was written for the Gold card, which is a card that fits inside the QL. It gives you a disk interface, and it's either 1 or 2 megabytes of memory, and runs about 4 to 5 times faster. So so you could easily run, you could even run 3 instances of the emulator, because you could do 1 floppy 1, 1 floppy 2, and then a hard disk if you wanted to set that up. I'm actually going to quit this. And having learned how to do this is asking you a question now. You just hit the left arrow and hit return, and that's going to quit. And just to show you that we're still running, Conqueror 2, still waiting for its world thing to go, right? So I thought that was pretty cool. But yeah, so think that this idea of multitasking, a really good multitasking operating system that has the ability to run this emulator twice is actually pretty cool. So I wanted to share that with you today because, yeah, I mean, the thing I love modern computers is sort of finding ways to integrate them to things, and that's usually the headache. I will say this project was not fun initially because I had to sort of figure out, you know, how to get this to work, and the key was when I saw that the emulator with the control key would release the other drive, then each one could get to the other resource. So that was pretty cool. But I'm going to end here. I'll see what else I can do for December, but I thought this would be cool. I hope you enjoyed it. So thanks for joining me, and I'll see you next time.